America has a gun problem. There's no debate over that. We also have a mass shooting problem. There's no debating that either. There have been more than 200 of them in 2022 alone, and we're just halfway done with the year. We're averaging more than one mass shooting a day. According to the Washington Post, not a single week in 2022 has passed without at least 4 mass shootings. 3 in the past 3 weeks have rattled the nation to its core. 10 killed in a grocery store in Buffalo. 19 children and 2 teachers at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. And 8 days after that shooting, a gunman killed 4 people inside a hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma. All 3 of those shootings had one glaring common denominator. Each gunman used some version of an AR-15. Americans are fed up, and so is President Biden. And on Thursday night, he called on Congress to act.
Over the last 2 decades, more school-age children have died from guns than on-duty police officers and active-duty military combined. Think about that. More kids than on-duty cops killed by guns. More kids than soldiers killed by guns. For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough, enough? I support the bipartisan efforts that include a small group of Democrats and Republican senators trying to find a way. But my God, the fact that the majority of the Senate Republicans don't want any of these proposals even to be debated or come up for a vote, I find unconscionable. We can't fail the American people again.
As the president mentioned, a group of 9 senators from both sides of the aisle are attempting to figure out where they might be able to find some common ground. And while that could be promising, what happened in a House Judiciary Committee meeting on Thursday, when members convened to debate and to vote on some gun reform measures, well, it revealed just how far apart some Democrats and Republicans remain on this issue.
19 children are dead. And so to my Republican colleagues, I ask, who are you here for? Are you here for our kids, or are you here for the killers? Because if you were here for the kids, you would do all you could to protect the next school shooting that's about to happen. And we know what's going to happen in America.
To infer by rhetorical supposed questions, who are you here for? We must be here for the gunman is an outrage. How dare you? You think we don't have hearts? It's just that when we look at the things that you're doing and you're trying to do to America, we've seen the carnage. I mean, for heaven's sake, let's take example. Democrats control the major cities that have the worst murder rates. That's right. Your ideas have been shown to get people killed.
That back and forth wasn't even the most jaw-dropping moment of the hearing. While arguing that Democrats are using a proposed ban on high-capacity magazines to ultimately take away access to certain guns, Republican Congressman Greg Steube of Florida decided to do a bit of a demonstration. His speech ended with this exchange with Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas.
Here's a gun I carry every single day to protect myself, my family, my wife, my home. This is a XL 6-hour P365. Comes with a 15-round magazine. Here's a 7-round magazine, which would be less than what would be lawful under this bill if this bill were to become law. It doesn't fit. So this gun would be banned.
I hope the gun is not loaded.
I'm at my house. I can do whatever I want with my guns.
Here's a point of order.
Is exactly what the Democrats want to do.
We'll get more into what happened, maybe more importantly, what didn't happen in that House Judiciary Committee meeting a bit later in the show. But for now, while it's clear that respectful and productive discourse isn't quite possible when it comes to gun legislation on Capitol Hill, today, On this National Gun Violence Awareness Day, we're going to attempt to facilitate a cordial debate of our own. So joining me now are two people with very different political beliefs. Fred Guttenberg, whose daughter Jamie was killed in the school shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida in 2018. He has now dedicated his life to pushing for common sense gun legislation across the country. Also with us is former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh, who is a gun owner and self-proclaimed defender of the Second Amendment. He recently said this on Twitter. Fred Guttenberg thought I was a crazy gun nut. I thought Fred wanted to take my guns away. But then Fred and I sat down, got to know each other. We found common ground. We became good friends. Now we're two dads hell-bent on working together to defend democracy. With that, Joe, let's start with you. That tweet says it all, but what I really want to know, what is that common ground that you found with Fred Guttenberg?
Katie, great to be with you and great to be with Fred. I have so much love and respect for that man. Look, the reason Fred and I got together a few months back, because if you care about this issue, the gun issue, nothing is going to get done until responsible gun owners on the right, like me, join people like Fred to get something done. Katie, that's the whole point. Fred and so many others have been out there for years working their tails off, trying to get something done. You want these Senate Republicans to move? They've got to hear from people on the right like me. I just got tired of having Fred out there all by himself.
Fred, what positions, if any, did you change after your conversations with Joe?
First things first, I consider Joe a really close friend these days because he took the time to reach out to me. Last year around this time, just before Father's Day, when I was trying to engage dads, it was Joe who made the first step. And we started talking, Katie. I mean, shocking, but that's really what it was. And we agreed we should do something to lower the gun violence death rate. We should do something to reduce the instances of gun violence, and we should do something to make sure that gun violence, when it happens, is less deadly. And in that context, we found we agree on a lot of stuff, whether it's background checks. Joe's not completely with me yet, but he will get there on raising the age to 21. On things like red flag laws, you're going to get there, buddy. On things like red flag laws, because at the end of the day, and it's what Joe said in the tweet, we are two dads who just want to save some lives. We were able to step off this conversation as a Second Amendment conversation and focus it on how do we go about reducing gun violence conversation, which means I have to respect his rights as a gun owner, but there's more we can do to save lives.
Katie, I think the sweet spot of compromise, at least where Fred and I came together, is doing whatever we can before the gun purchase to make sure that that person who gets a gun is somebody who should have a gun. So, you know, I learned a lot from Fred about strengthening and expanding background checks. Yes, red flag laws. These should be areas, Katie, that should be slam dunks. And these should be areas where privately most Senate Republicans and most gun owners support. So this should be automatic, whatever we can before the gun is bought.
And I just want to add, I'm sorry, because you showed the clip with Greg Stubbe, who's a mentally deficient individual. And I think Joe would agree with me. You would never see him pull a stunt like that. Because I think of every kid who saw him do that and then said, I can do whatever I want with it. Okay? Who's thinking, well, I guess I can too. The man is mentally deficient, and we need to do everything, not just through legislation, but through talking and through culturally the ways we think about this to make sure people don't do stupid, asinine things like that.
As we discussed, President Biden last night gave a speech. I want to play just a quick bit of sound from President Biden's message to gun owners from last night.
For so many of you at home, I want to be very clear. This is not about taking away anyone's guns. It's not about vilifying gun owners. In fact, we believe we should be treating responsible gun owners as an example of how every gun owner should behave. I respect the culture and the tradition and the concerns of lawful gun owners. At the same time, the Second Amendment, like all other rights, is not absolute.
Fred, do you agree with President Biden that responsible gun ownership is okay with certain guns being banned? Or are you, based upon your history and experience thus far, pushing for even more?
I am not pushing for more. Listen, I have a wish list, okay? And on my wish list, would I love to see, no AR-15s on the streets of America? Yeah, I would. It killed my daughter. But I also understand where we're at as a country. So I focus on being pragmatic, and I focus on responsible gun ownership. I focus on recognizing that we have gun owners in this country, and I have no dislike for them. I hate gun violence. So anything we can do to reduce gun violence and to save lives that also is respectful of the rights of those responsible gun owners, count me in. Now, I don't consider Stu a responsible gun owner. He showed us yesterday he's not. But anybody who is a responsible gun owner, I want to be respectful of that. I also want them to work with me to reduce gun violence.
Yeah, but Joe, you just spent a few minutes talking about how the emphasis needs to be on the timing of before the gun is purchased. But Biden clearly is saying we got to ban certain guns. Joe, do you agree with any guns being banned at this point?
Katie, I don't. And politically, I think that's a real non-starter. Look, there are 20 to 25 AR-15s out there. 99.9% of the Americans who own an AR-15, as Fred knows, are responsible, law-abiding gun owners. I don't think that's where to go, Katie. I think the place you've got to go if you want to get something done. Let's be clear about that. If you want to get something done, and by the way, Katie, if you want to grab these Republicans by you pick your own body part and put some real pressure on them, man, throw universal background checks in their face. Throw strengthened red flag laws in their face. The NRA, they're so afraid, Katie. I used to be a member of the NRA. I was a congressman. The NRA pressures you. The NRA won't even allow that. The NRA won't allow these 10 Senate Republicans to give an inch. Well, pressure from responsible gun owners like me is the only way to change that.
Joe, there's a tweet from you from a few hours ago where you wrote, mental health, family breakdown, no fathers, isolation, lack of community, culture of violence. All of this contributes on guns, bigger, better background checks, tougher red flag laws, training for all firearms buyers, armed security at our schools, always open to dialogue. You have some easily recognizable GOP talking points in that tweet. So, Fred, my question is for you. Do you agree with any of Joe's thoughts in his tweet, at least the part that comes before the responsible gun ownership?
Well, first things first, what Biden did say last night is he would love to see a ban, but in the failure to be able to do that, let's at least raise the age to 21. And that, I stand with President Biden. Let's at least raise the age to 21. As for what Joe said in his tweet, listen, gun violence isn't a one-size-fits-all scenario. Mental health is a part of it. In fact, 2/3 of all gun-related deaths are suicide, and we can't ignore that. And so we must deal with mental health. What I really detest is governors like Greg Abbott in Texas who say mental health just to not talk about the gun, but cut $200 million at the same time. So let's deal with mental health. Let's deal with background checks. Let's talk about what security looks like on a school campus. Let's do all of those things. If your true intention is to reduce gun violence and not simply kick the bucket down the road, let's talk about it all.
And Katie,
Fred,
our problem is my side won't even talk about the second part of that tweet. It's all mental health, family breakdown, isolation. They won't even talk about guns. That's a problem.
Joe,
but McConnell hasn't even said the word gun yet.
Exactly. But Joe, Fred's got these definitive ideas to implement. He's got like an action plan. You're a Republican. You're a responsible gun owner. What are the magic words the GOPers need to hear, the ones that are anti-common sense gun legislation? Is it going to take one of them tragically becoming the next Fred Guttenberg to actually implement common sense gun legislation at this point?
Sadly, Katie, that may be what it takes. The other part of the equation here is they've only been seeing Democrats and people on the left, good committed people like Fred, calling for reforms. These Republicans have had no pressure from their right flank. What we have to build is that pressure from hardcore gun owners like me who say, go screw the NRA, Senate Republicans, you do something on background checks, red flag laws, school safety, you do something, or we're going to bounce you out of office. It's got to come from my side.
I've run out of time, which is so sad because there's so much more that I want to talk to both of you about. I just have to say this. Fred Guttenberg and Joe Walsh, it's this kind of transparency and this kind of willingness to have a dialogue that's going to affect the change that we're all going to benefit from. So I appreciate you both taking the time to be with me today and to have this conversation in open, in public with all of us. Thank you for this.
Amen, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.